All right, let's talk about the first myth. And I have a question for you. I want you to think of the last time you got into an argument. Who is it with? What did you say? How did you feel? How did they feel? And what was the end result? You see, when I asked myself that, I remember a few years ago when I was running a restaurant, and I got an email from the company that was in charge of our bread delivery. And the email said, hey, I noticed that you didn't pay the last invoice, so we're not gonna deliver your bread. And that was new to me. Usually that wasn't handled by me. But what did I do? I started arguing about the fact that we're not getting our delivery. And that just kept escalating, where I said one thing, he said something back, and we both just got more and more defensive. And in the end, sure enough, we didn't get our delivery. And the thing is it possible? It got me thinking that, is it possible that the most basic human need is the need to be right? Right? Is that why that happened? And is the need so deep that we'd rather be right than be happy? We'd rather be right than get our bread delivery, for example. Think about it. Why is it that in an argument, we never look where the other side can be right? Why is it that we can spend our whole lives miserable just to prove someone wrong? For example, if you take a job, like I did actually, and you continue to do that just because people said you can't do it. Why is it that people try to get revenge even when it hurts them? You see, why is it that we'll complain to our friends about what a bad person some other person is just so we can get all of them to tell us, you know what? You're right. You see, the thing is that as soon as our need to feel right gets triggered, we become like a deaf person with a megaphone. We'll get really loud and say anything to get them to hear what we're saying. And at the same time, we don't hear a thing that they say that can challenge that. Can you consider, for example, going back to the last time you got in that argument, that no matter what they would have said, you wouldn't even be able to hear it because you needed to be right? You see, the thing is that you're not the only one who has that need. Obviously, they do too. And the more you try to make them wrong, the more they're going to try to be right. Makes sense, right? And as something that you hold on to, as long as you hold on to that need, you can't persuade. Look, we're taught to believe that getting what we want is about convincing the other person that what we're saying and seeing makes sense. We're told that we're rational creatures and persuasion is all about logic and arguments. And that's the first myth. The first myth is that persuasion is about showing them that I'm right and they're wrong. And it's a myth that shreds any chance of us being persuasive, just like a lion shreds a gazelle. Can you start to see that? You see, that's why Dale Carnegie said in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he said the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. And it's why Grant Cardone said in his book, Sell or Be Sold, to always, always, always agree with the customer. This is the single most important rule and the most violated rule in all of selling. He says, even when a buyer is making up ridiculous claims, agree with him. Even if he thinks something is black and you think it's white, you'd better agree with his reality that it's black. Agree with him first, and that will bring him to another level of thinking. It's also probably why Jesus said in the Bible, agree with thine adversary quickly. The myth is you need to make them wrong. And the secret, the first secret that I want to share with you is this: never make the other person wrong. That's right, you never, ever want to make the other person wrong, because as soon as you do, they get triggered and you've lost. So that's just the first myth. Isn't that cool? And can you see where that's maybe held you back in influencing people and being persuasive? Now, are you ready for myth number 2? Cool, let's pick that up in the next video.